Today was the day the mask finally slipped. We've been told for years that the race for artificial intelligence was a race to save humanity, but today, we found out what that safety is actually worth when the world's most powerful military comes knocking with a blank check in one hand and a threat in the other. One company stood its ground and was branded an enemy of the state. Another company saw the empty chair, ran to it, and signed their name in the blood of their principals. The Pentagon went to Anthropic and said, "Give us your Claude model. We will use it in our mass surveillance systems. We will integrate it into our autonomous weapon systems. We don't want any restrictions. Full access." Do you know what Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, did? He said no to the face of the world's most powerful army, the most powerful state. He said, "Some uses cross our red lines in terms of security, ethics, and reliability. We cannot accept this on a moral level." Dario Amodei and Anthropic. For months, they've been in a locked room brawl with the Pentagon, or, as it's now been rebranded, the Department of War. The demand was simple: give us Claude. Remove the guardrails. We want full access for mass surveillance and autonomous weapon systems. Essentially, they wanted an AI that doesn't just think, but hunts. And Dario said no. He didn't just say it in a memo. He said it to the face of a government that had just issued a 5:01 p.m. deadline. He said that some lines like machines making the decision to kill without human oversight are moral red lines that cannot be crossed.
The AI systems of today are nowhere near reliable enough to make fully autonomous weapons. Anyone who's worked with AI models understands that there's a basic unpredictability to them that in a purely technical way we have not solved. And there's an oversight question too. If you have a large army of drones or robots that can operate without any human oversight, where there aren't human soldiers to make the decisions about who to target, who to shoot at, that presents concerns. And we need to have a conversation about how that's overseen, and we haven't had that conversation yet. And so we feel strongly that for those two use cases should not be allowed.
Anthropic is a $380 billion company. This wasn't a small decision. By saying no, they walked away from a $200 million contract and invited the full wrath of the administration. The response was instant. Within minutes, the President of the United States declared them a radical leftist company. Secretary Pete Hegseth labeled them a national security risk. Think about that. An American company is now legally treated like a foreign spy agency because they refuse to build Skynet. Enter Sam Altman, the man who has spent the last 3 years on a global safety tour testifying before Congress, talking about the existential risks of AI, and posing as the responsible adult in the room. The moment he saw Anthropic's principled stance, before the ink on Dario's statement had even dried, he ran to the Pentagon. He said, "We're in, we're ready." He signed the agreement. He turned his competitor's conscientious objection into his own commercial opportunity. Just think, a company resists, saying, "No, this isn't ethical," and you rush into the void left by that no. How immoral is that opportunism? The ink on Anthropic's rejection wasn't even dry before Altman was at the Pentagon. Before the Friday night news cycle could even end, OpenAI announced they were in. Benefits all of humanity, Sam? Or benefits the Department of War's surveillance stateful runtime environments? Altman claims he got the safety terms Anthropic couldn't. He says the Pentagon respects their principles, but let's use our brains for a second. If the Pentagon was willing to blacklist Anthropic for those exact demands, why would they suddenly play nice with OpenAI? The truth, OpenAI didn't get better terms. They just have a lower bar for what they consider immoral. If you think I'm being too harsh, don't take my word for it. Look at the people who actually build the code. This man is not an advocate for safe AI. This man is a businessman who sells his principles at every opportunity. Compared to Anthropic's courage, OpenAI's move will go down in history as a dark stain. Over 430 employees from Google and OpenAI, Sam Altman's own people, just signed an open letter supporting Anthropic. They are literally calling out their own bosses. They know that when you integrate a large language model into an autonomous drone, you aren't democratizing intelligence, you are automating execution. When an AI-powered drone eventually makes a mistake, it profiles an innocent person as a target based on a glitch in its training data. There will be a signature on the contract that allowed it to happen. Let everyone see clearly what happened today. Anthropic refused to allow its technology to be used in autonomous killer robots and mass surveillance, and they were willing to pay the price. OpenAI, on the other hand, willingly surrendered precisely that technology. When an AI-powered drone kills a human without human supervision, when millions of innocent people are profiled by AI, don't forget the signature under that agreement. This is a tale of two companies. One was willing to be destroyed to stay human. The other was willing to be hollowed out to stay relevant. Sam Altman is a businessman, a brilliant one. He just raised $110 billion. But you have to ask, what is the adjusted gross profit of your soul? If you sell the safety narrative to the public while selling the weaponry capability to the state, you aren't a visionary. You're a merchant of death with a better PR team. This is not a matter to be ignored. The future of AI cannot be left to the conscience of a few CEOs. We need to make our voices heard to Sam Altman and OpenAI. Humanity is not for sale.